Hi, what's up guys? Welcome back to another episode on the channel Behind the Scenes in Health with Dr. Ron. For those of you who are seeing me for the first time, my name is Ronald. I'm a medical doctor and I talk about everything healthcare really. So if that's what you're looking for, you're in the right place and time. So just hit the subscribe button. On today's episode, I'll be talking about some of the frequently asked questions or common questions that you might come around or come across when you're interviewing for the role of a clinical trial monitor. Now, you might want to watch my last video where I talked about how to become a clinical trial monitor, the whole process, the industry terms, associations, and all of that. Quite informative video, so you might just want to check it out, right? So, but today I'll just talk about some of the questions you might come across that if you're preparing for an interview, it's worth you thinking about, right, in no particular order. And I'm not going to be answering those questions on this video. I'm just going to read them out, talk a bit about them, and leave you to dig in yourself. So the first one is, how would you handle a situation where the site is not following protocol? So that means you're on site, you're the clinical trial monitor, you should have an idea of what the study protocol is. You should have an in-depth understanding of that. So that's usually where the information should start from. So how would you handle a situation where the site is not following the study protocol? That's one question. Another one is, how would you ensure that patient safety is maintained in a clinical trial? Now, patient safety is the bedrock of every clinical trial. Once the patient safety is compromised, you can as well end that trial, right? So we have to protect the patient or participants at all costs. So how would you ensure as a clinical trial monitor that safety is maintained all through in a clinical trial? Then another potential question could be, what steps do you take to ensure that a sponsor's objectives are met? Every clinical trial has a sponsor, so you want to know how would you ensure that their objectives are met with the trial. Now, sometimes it could be a scenario-based, question where they could ask you, can you tell us or describe an experience where you've had to resolve very complex clinical trial issues? Every trial has an issue, so I won't get into details of that. So you can tell us of a scenario where you've encountered one and what you did to resolve that issue. A good approach is to use the STAR approach. That's the situation, task, action, and the result. So you can never go wrong if you use the STAR approach. Another question could be, can you tell us your experience with an electronic data capture system? So most of the data in clinical trial sites are captured using electronic data capture system. So do you have an experience using one? Again, the STAR approach comes in really very handy. Then lastly, how would you ensure that the data collected is accurate and reliable? In my last video, I talked about the importance of ensuring that whatever data is collected is accurate, because we don't want to collect inaccurate results, base your conclusions on inaccurate results, and ultimately, for example, put a drug out there or a device out there and it begins to harm persons. So how would you ensure that the data collected in that trial is really accurate? So these are some questions you might encounter if you're interviewing for the role of a clinical trial monitor, and you might just want to give it a thought and start thinking about the answers really. And if you want me to bring a clinical trials monitor to the show or to the podcast, to give us an in-depth understanding of what really happens in that world, let me know in the comment section and I'm going to get one on the show. And until I come your way next time, I still remain your host, Dr. Ron, and I'd like to say bye for now.